What a crazy debate. Everybody came out of this debate looking terrible. The radicals, the liberals, the billionaires, everybody looked terrible, but especially Mike Bloomberg. And this was to be expected. This started right out the door of the debate. Mike Bloomberg shows up. Everybody is going after him, and Bloomberg simply wasn't prepared. So Warren kicked it all off by attempting, she later completed this, but she attempted to just absolutely end Bloomberg's campaign before it began.
I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. Democrats are not going to win if we have a nominee who has a history of hiding his tax returns, of harassing women, and of supporting racist policies like redlining and stop and frisk.
All right, Bloomberg's team completely blew this if they did not prepare him for this question. This was obviously going to be a big question because it's very difficult to attack Mike Bloomberg. He's had an extremely successful career. He's a Democrat, so he holds most of the politically correct political positions. But because he runs any large enterprise, there are these NDAs and obviously there's always HR issues. So they're going to try to portray Mike Bloomberg, who's a very good manager of these enterprises, as some kind of sexual predator. Because what? Because he made a joke 20 years ago or something. Bloomberg should have seen that coming. His team didn't prep him. No surprise that the geniuses who thought that a campaign strategy was putting Bloomberg's face on a meatball on social media, that somehow they would botch debate prep. But what's so crazy about that moment is Bloomberg could have seen it coming because it's the exact moment that happened to Trump in his debate 4 years ago. And you remember that first debate, Trump comes out there, everyone's gunning for Trump, and they tried to hit him on the same thing. They said, "You've made mean jokes about women." And Megyn Kelly was the moderator, and she said, "Mr. President," or he wasn't president then, said, "Mr. Trump, you've called women fat and ugly and terrible." And instead of doing what Mike Bloomberg did, which was wilt and don't say anything, and then you say, "I'm sorry," Trump leaned right into it.
"You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account..."
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
One of the most memorable lines in presidential debates, and I remember watching it in real time in 2016 and thinking, oh man, this guy's really got something. This guy is not going to be pushed around. This guy understands how to play the media. And Bloomberg blew it. Now, Bloomberg couldn't have used the exact same line. They couldn't have said, Mike Bloomberg, you've called women horse-faced lesbians. And then Bloomberg leans in and says, only Susie in accounting. Yeah, right, that obviously isn't going to work. But he could have gotten aggressive. Okay, if this is going to be the line of attack on brash New York billionaires, which is that they make off-color jokes, he could have leaned into it and gone on the attack and been even more brash and said, Elizabeth, you're one of the most notorious liars in the country. You lied about your DNA for decades and took jobs away from Native Americans. You lied about where your kids go to school. You lied about being fired for being pregnant. So excuse me if I don't take you seriously. I shouldn't be surprised that you would lie about me too. If he just leaned in and made it an attack, I think people would have stood up and loved him for it. Nobody wants this awful, lying, dishonest woman to hector some guy who's had a very successful career in business. That doesn't look good to most Americans. But if she's going to be able to push him around, then she's going to win the exchange, which is exactly what happened. Thank you for tuning into the Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative media outlets in the country. If you enjoyed this video, and really, even if you didn't, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of our content.